It's impossible to explain the level of desperation that people felt. I mean, you just think that the first couple days when people were trying to hang on to the bottom of C-17s, that's desperation that Americans don't understand that level of desperation.
It was a very clear mission, which was to go rescue Aziz.
I knew that if I didn't personally intervene, Aziz would die.
Chad and I connected. We had worked together over the last several years, and I just said, you know, how can I help?
It's great we're gonna go help Aziz, but I'm talking to this orphanage over here that's 3,500 orphans. Let's not just help this limited group. Let's help as many people as we can.
I was either gonna be sitting on my couch tweeting about how this is all up, or I was gonna be one of the 12 people that was making it a little less.
24 hours later, tickets are booked. Then we're getting on a plane. I knew I would be more of an asset working with whoever's on the ground.
The military was not allowed to go outside the wire. That was the rules of engagement.
They can't go outside and help people. Americans, something can happen right in front of them. They can't go outside and help.
The Taliban looked right at them. They just executed the woman on their hood just to try to elicit response. Just to be like, just so we're super clear about who is in charge here, I'm gonna murder this woman right in front of you, and there's nothing that you can do about it.
Their version of crowd control was when it got out of hand, they would just dump a AK mag into the crowd.
Whoever just made this decision to turn his bus around essentially just murdered these people. But some of those people are Americans.
There's not enough emotional capacity left in my soul to be able to mourn 4 busloads of people that are about to die. I'm trying to save a woman and her children, but off to like 5 feet away from me is a dead child. There's just everywhere.
Our next guest is an Army infantry veteran with the coveted Ranger tab. He is also the vice president and a founder of Save Our Allies, an effort that rescued 12,000 Afghanistan refugees during the final days of our withdrawal. He went to Kabul to assist with the evacuation. He is a West Point graduate with an MBA from Duke University, and he also is a Legionnaire from North Carolina. Due to his extensive combat experience, he has special insight on powering through obstacles with reckless abandon. We will also hear about his affection for a cartoon character. Please welcome Nick Palmisciano.
Thank you so much for having me. You know, the fall of Kabul was an incredibly emotional event, and I was completely unqualified to be there. I was not that cool when I was in the military. I was an infantry officer. I'm decidedly less cool now that I am a middle-aged guy that spends more time behind a keyboard than doing anything else. But I want to talk to you a little bit about how I ended up there. But first, I want to tell you that my principal reason for being here is to get Mark Seavey fired. He is the guy that kind of vouched for me and said, hey, you know, you should bring Nick out to this event and talk to these incredible leaders. And I said, you know, how do I have to dress? And he said, unfortunately, you're going to have to wear a suit and tie. But he didn't say anything about shoes, and so I'm wearing Charlie Brown sneakers right now. The reason I'm wearing Charlie Brown sneakers, I'm going to Columbo this a little bit because the audience actually understands that reference. The point of this speech is Charlie Brown is my hero because he keeps trying to kick that football. No matter how many things go wrong, no matter how many times he misses, no matter how many times he fails, he gets up and he keeps trying to kick that football with the same reckless abandon as he has so many other times. So why is that important to this audience? Originally, I was going to get up here and kind of talk about things that I've gone through in my life, but looking out on all of you, I just had to change this because you've all been successful. You're all leaders. You've all been through trials and tribulations. You've all figured it out. But we need something different from you. We need you. We need this group of people, and not in the way that we typically think about how we need you. When people get out of the military, they immediately lose tribe and they lose purpose. The Legion provides that tribe. The Legion brings a group of people around that understand veterans, that help. That part you guys have on lock. But sometimes people have a lot of trouble finding purpose. And for this, I want to just talk about my life. When I got out, I went to Duke University, right? No one should feel bad for me. That's not a sob story. I then got a corporate gig with a Fortune 100 company, John Deere. Tremendous company, great people. I was making a fortune. My family does not come from money, and I was like a 30-year-old making $250,000 a year, and life should be good. And I have never been so unhappy in my entire life. There was no meaning. Nothing felt good. I felt like I was marking time. And so, on a Friday, my boss came in and said, "Great news. You're getting a promotion and a big raise." And I went home that weekend, and I came in on Monday, and I said, "I don't know how to tell you this, but I quit." And he was like, "Did I do something? Is there something wrong? Is everything fine? Did you find another job?" And I said, "You know what? I have this little hobby that I started on the side called Ranger Up. It's an apparel brand focused on the military, and I just need to do something that I believe in." And so I quit this job, and things got really, really hard. I ended up getting divorced, which is the worst thing you can go through. I almost bankrupted myself. I was a single dad with a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. I had $1,300 in the bank, and I had $57,000 in credit card debt, all for that business. It was a low point for literally anyone else, but I felt alive because I had found purpose in my life. And that purpose eventually turned into success. That part isn't really important. That success led to other things. I started helping other veterans. I met Tim Kennedy, who was in that video, and Chad Robichaud in that video, because Ranger Up had gotten to the point where it was starting to have some success. And we decided, hey, we're going to start supporting military athletes. At the time, they were both military athletes, Tim in the UFC and Chad in Strike Force. And I helped them with the advice that I had through life, in business, in relationships, things that I had messed up, things I didn't want them to mess up. I met Sarah Verardo, who was in that video, because I was at an event that veterans were throwing that went completely south. And there were tons of celebrities there, and there was a bunch of work that wasn't done. And I was actually there as a speaker, but things were so upside down that I said, "Hey, I'm taking this jacket off and I'm going to work." And for 2 days, we just worked on saving this thing. And Sarah saw, hey, this guy actually wants to be helpful. And so we, became friends and had a relationship. Fast forward to this moment in time. Suddenly, there is a preposterous situation where we are desperately trying. If you are a veteran, you were trying to figure out how to help Afghans. You were trying to figure out, what can we do? And everyone kind of took a step forward and said, well, I can make this list. Well, I can do this. I can do that. And we ended up with 12 people that all felt like they could kind of fit one piece of the puzzle together. And so when Sarah had the opportunity, because of 8 other things, to give me a phone call and say, "Can you help?" She was not basing her belief that I could help on my military background. I hadn't been in uniform for over a decade. And again, I wasn't that cool. There are tier 1 guys that were lined up ready to do this. Her belief was completely based on the fact that she knows that I had been helping the veteran community for almost 2 decades. And she knew that I would be willing to help. And Chad did the same thing with his network. And he found a guy that had a business in UAE. And that guy rode motorcycles with another veteran that grew up in UAE and happened to know the royal family. And he asked the royal family, could we possibly land an airplane here? And the royal family said, we'll do you one better. We'll give you 2 C-17s. 2 other guys were they were able to get to the ground in Kabul, but they had no place to bring people. So we got connected. Next thing you know, you have 12 veterans, most of which did not know each other, but all had the same mentality. I'm going to keep trying to do something, and I will eventually succeed. And so 12 people arrived in UAE and then Kabul, Afghanistan, truly not knowing what we were going to do. We had an idea. Fast forward 10 days, Sea Spray, Sean G, Tim, we have our own hangar in Kabul. We're running thousands of people out a day. Not only do we have 2 C-17s, but we have 3 737s that veterans have paid for. And we ended up saving 11.5% of everyone that got saved in Kabul. Thank you. As 12 middle-aged veterans and 1 really badass lady. I'm telling you this not because of this story. This story, is obviously important right now, but this replicates over and over and over again. And there is a generation of veterans that's just a little younger than me that grew up in the age of social media. They grew up at a time where everything that they do is judged, but they don't necessarily look to personal relationships as much as they look out to the voices in the ether. And that is when I think people get into trouble. They leave the military, they don't have tribe, they don't have purpose, and suddenly they don't have a pathway. Suddenly life doesn't look that interesting. Maybe they consider suicide, maybe they're just unhappy. When I quit my Fortune 100 gig, I was not a member of the American Legion. I did not have this tribe. I did not have guidance. I did not have purpose. What I did have was a Vietnam veteran dad that said, I think you can do it. I think, it's crazy. I wouldn't do it. I think this is a crazy decision. But I think that you can go succeed, peddling t-shirts on the internet instead of keeping this amazing job that I would have killed for. He gave me that support, even though my dream at the time was pretty dumb. I mean, let's just be honest. It's a pretty dumb dream. Every single person in here can be that for somebody. As these veterans are getting out of the military, as they are looking to the future, even if their dream is dumb, even if their purpose isn't your purpose, guidance, encouragement, helping them find the way, because when people are unhappy, that is when they get themselves in bad situations. That is when everything gets very dark. So, coming back from that mission, and I class myself as being a very small part of that mission. There were 4 guys that were like the stuff of legends, and if there's a movie that's ever made about this, they are the heroes of this film, with the sun in the background and the cool guns and everything. I partially tore my labrum carrying people up a staircase because the Afghan amputees couldn't walk up the stairs. There was no ground crew, so I'm like holding guys like this with fluids and colostomy bags hanging over my shoulder. I tore my labrum doing that. So there's no cool guy story about me. It's just like sad middle-aged guy story. But the 12 of us working together, doing our part, putting ego aside, putting pride aside, not worrying about potential failure, but just desperately trying to kick that football, made a huge impact on over 12,000 lives. And Save Our Allies, the organization we founded in the aftermath of that, has continued to help people in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Ukraine. We fail most of the time. When we left, we had 12,000 Afghans saved. We had 19,000 names on our list, vetted, ready to go. We ran out of time. Colossal failure. But trying to kick the football over and over again made an incredible difference. And there is a whole generation of veterans coming right now that needs you to tell them it is okay to keep trying. They look up to you. You guys are legends. You have done things the rest of us can't imagine. And I'm here asking you to lean forward and help them be the next generation of winning veterans. In World War II, we had 11.5% of the population served. In Vietnam, we had 4.3% of the population served. Over the last 20 years of war, it's been less than 1%. That means that this community has to be more successful, more impactful, has to lean forward more, has to take bigger chances in order to have the same impact on our country, on our businesses, on our nation that the Vietnam generation has. So we have to be better, and we can't be better without you. So bringing it back around, Charlie Brown, nonstop passion, aggression, desire to do the right thing, to win, to kick the football no matter what. Please help this next generation of veterans get there. Thank you very much.